Our next speaker, Dr. Jasween Kaur, is former chairperson and head of department of the University Business School, Guru Nanak Dev University. She has an academic experience of 25 years. She is an active member on various editorial boards. She has numerous research publications in various national and international journals of repute and has won awards for her research work. Dr. Jasween also provides support in different women empowerment activities. I request you, ma'am, to please address the audience.
On the onset, I appreciate the efforts of Technica Institute for this particular webinar. I always feel whenever there is a policy change or there is any change, there is a lot of inhibitions and fears, but I feel fear is not the solution to any challenge. And that was the reason, maybe it took 34 years for the new education policies to reform itself. And it was 1986 the old policy came into existence, and it was modified a little in 1992, but then it could not make much of changes later on. And then I believe in 2016 the evolution of this particular framework for this particular policy came, and on the grounds of innovating the education system, this particular procedures and started, and framework was started, and it took about a year and a half to frame it. And probably then in 2017 a committee was constituted to look into the challenges and the opportunities of the advantages and disadvantages, and finally in 2019 it was made public for reviews and comments and feedback. And if you all remember, we used to get information from our institutes to give our views and feedback to UGC or to institutes for this particular policy. Having said that, it came into existence and finalized on 29th of July 2020. And it took almost all this time, about 4 or 5 years in the initial nascent stage of giving birth to this particular new setup, where initially there was National Policy of Education, then the new national NEP, that is National Education Policy, came into existence. I value the opinions of all the learned panelists and experts here, and I appreciate, of course, the efforts, as I said, of the institute. But I totally agree and vouch for all the views of the people who said that, you know, whenever we talk about any policy change, we cannot, you know, squeeze it in a time period of discussion. Having said that, it is very important to give our views over a period of time to understand this particular change which is happening. What are the advantages and or the prospective opportunities and prospective challenges? This policy is going to impact all the stakeholders. It is going to impact the teachers, the students, the institutes, the governors, everybody. So it is important to understand who are the end consumers, the students. Any change which happens, the acceptability is an issue, but we cannot forget the old proverb which says a new order changes yielding place to the new. So we have to keep our efforts going, and we have to keep change is dynamic, change has to happen. The Ministry of Higher Education, now it has become the Ministry of Education, it focused on 5 important parameters when it talked about national education policy. It was access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. The focus of making a virtual hub, the knowledge as a virtual hub or knowledge as a knowledge hub, because as I heard Dr. Durgesh Tripathi, and I totally agree with him that, you know, especially in 2020, post-COVID, during the COVID times and post-COVID times, ICT has become a very important platform for learning, and virtual learning has been an important aspect. And we also in our institutes, we encourage our students to go for MOOC courses. And I've seen, Dr. Durgesh, I've seen the ePathshala platform, and I've also, you know, made a contribution to that services marketing. That is a management, I think, module I've written, and the videos and the text of that. So having said that, you know, it was a good platform as teachers also to evaluate ourselves to contribute to academia and research, and as for students also, because if I'm teaching services marketing strategy to my students, I add on my videos of the EPG Pathshala platform to add on to the learning and knowledge. So when I talked about when we talk about making a vibrant knowledge hub, a vibrant knowledge epicenter, the knowledge, the education system in India, uh, the 5 parameters which are being focusing is access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. Access, as you all we all know that, you know, reaching to the nookest corner of the country, reaching to all the areas, and of course the virtual platforms will help us, the ICT will help us in doing them. When we talk about equity, equity means going from rural, urban to rural, and of course to the backward areas. The gender sensitization is there, reaching to education to all. And you know, whenever we talk about policy changes, I always feel whenever when we are framing it, we put that, and if you must have seen the national education policy guidelines, there's a huge pages, but you know, the implementation, as Dr. Karamji and all the experts, Dr. Ravi, Dr. HK Singh, Dr. Durgesh, Dr. Vijay, they all pointed out, you know, implementation becomes an important aspect. So equity implementation is very important. Then affordability, a lot of funding scholarships are being you know, floated, and there is a lot of things in the pipeline. And of course, for access, open learning education is there. Open universities are being set up. There are a lot of universities which are being initially there used to be concept of open schools, but now open universities are there. So the purpose is, you know, we used to have only 1 or 2 universities like Indira Gandhi National Open University, but then in every state we are opening up this university, so to give the uh, reach to all. And I'll come to quality later because that is the most important aspect, but I'll talk about accountability. When talking about accountability, of course, there's governance is there. There is going to be performance appraisal. There used to be performance appraisal. We have been doing performance indicators as well and performance appraisals, but there's going to be light but tight regulations, and that is very important when we talk about implementation part. And the most important part when we talk about the 5 parameters of this implementation is quality. Now, quality is not only quality of teaching, quality is quality of involvement of all the stakeholders. And here I would like to point out, when we talk about students here, and we were talking about all the acceptability of MOOC courses, as Dr. Ajay said. Now, I would like to point out here, the students' acceptability is very you know, poor in all these things. You know, even if we tell the students to go in for all these new platforms, their mental orientation is not there. So I feel education, the prime focus of any education should be mental development and mental orientation. You know, anybody can succeed without degrees, but none without common sense. And the education system should help us in enlightening the vision of the students and enlightening the mental orientation of the development of the mental orientation of the students. So that, so as you know, Dr. Ravi was saying that, you know, students, they are, whether it is a school students or their college students or university, they do not feel like coming to the university. And also we all hear many a times, you know, there is all theory, no practicals. You know, normally we hear that. And when we try to do practicals, you know, when we conduct a lot of events or orientation programs, or maybe training programs or seminars or practical exercises or training, you know, the involvement and the forthrightness of the students is very less. And I'm talking of the majority. I'm not talking of the of certain benchmark institutes, and there's a mixed bag in every institute which is in a state or in a national level. In a class of 100, 10% would be different, 30-40% would be different, and rest of the bag will be there. So involvement of all and development of all is very important. So when we're talking of all these changes, when we're talking of changes bringing 5+3+4 system, you know, all these changes can have actual impact when we realize the grassroots reality that is making the students acceptable to learning. You know, we are many a time students, they come for degrees. Even if, you know, Ravi Andar has, it's been, you know, really always really overwhelming gesture by Dr. Ravi whenever he says that she has been my teacher. Thank you very much for saying that, Dr. Ravi. But he remembers, whenever we talk about taking education like MBA or any other degrees, majority of students come for taking a degree. Many wants to go for jobs, or many wants to do their own business. But actual learning, many students they are not coming for actual learning, for actual development. But that does not mean that there aren't people there. I have live examples. Even last year there was a student with us in University Business School, Guru Nanak Dev University. The student had cleared CAT exam. He was supposed to go to IIM Bangalore, but he stayed with us. But he said no. Of course, one reason was that he wanted to be with the family. That was one reason. But then he could have just gone. But then he stayed with us. So there are people who are there. But again, when we talk about another example, do we trust our education system? I ask all the academia here, when we want to send our students for higher education, after +2 or after graduation, we look for foreign universities, right? So are we all trusting the system? So that is why the change has to come from intrinsic level to the extrinsic level. So we're talking of these policies, they're changing the system, but what about the individual orientations and trust and commitment towards the system? So for that has to be rigorous. Just implementing policies cannot bring change. So I would say the quality aspect is very important, but quality is a relative term. I do agree. And when we're talking about all kind of autonomy and Atmanirbhar Bharat, all these abhiyans are there, and we are giving autonomy to colleges, but then there are grassroots realities we all know. So we cannot say that whenever we talk about these platforms, there is an absolute term. There is a theory of relativity which is there, and there is a relative situation, circumstances for everybody. But yes, a flexibility in the system is important. But some of the institutes, they were already having if I talk about we were talking about multidisciplinary platforms. If we talk about BITS and IITs, a science graduate could take management courses or the social sciences courses, which was not there in our system. But then making it acceptable is also important. And then of course when the MOOCs came, and the credit based evaluation system came, these things has evolved over a period of time, that anybody can take as an interdisciplinary system, but not as the core subjects. Why is that? Because see, if we talk about from the management perspective, or the management courses, we have to create a basket of subjects. So we as teachers, we are afraid to create basket of subjects. One, because how to get faculty under the management for all, because there is always difficulty to get faculty, because I was chairing the department for about 3.5 years, and then maybe 6 months was also earlier for a short period of time as a temporary. So about 4 years of there was a huge department. We were having about 1100 to 1200 students. We were running about 6-7 different types of specialized courses under management programs. And I used to have only 4 or 5 permanent faculty and about 26-27 ad hoc or part-time or lecture basis faculty. So so it was very difficult that to get the authorities to give us the faculty. So and then also we are afraid of the timetable. Whenever we think of giving more options, more subjects in the basket for the benefit of students, that we give more options to them, the timetable is going to go not between 9 to 5, and all the faculty is afraid. And because why? It's not that we are afraid, it's because the system is such. There is no additional perks, there is no additional benefits. If we're talking of India and UK alignment, now if you think there, one, research is given a lot of importance in this institute. So people who are active in research, they're lighten on their teaching schedules, which is not here in India, except few IIMs are there. There's certain. Then second, people who are giving teaching different orientations of teaching, or they are having erratic schedules, or they are having schedules of heavy schedules on a particular days, they will be lightened on few. Maybe there is a 3 days teaching in a week, So 3 days teaching, they can have heavy schedules, but no, we want to be in the tight frame of 9 to 5. We want our schedules to be within the time frame of 9 to 5. We want our timetables to be there, and we want to adjust everything. So when we have to talk about these changes of new education policy, we will have to think about changing the intrinsic levels of flexibility in our own mindsets as teachers as well, if we talk about giving to the students and making their mental development. So when I talk about all this fragmented setup and affordability, and of course one important aspect which I was hearing is that, you know, of course it is there in the national educational policy, there's an option of exit policy when I'm talking of the system of four undergraduate courses. Now talk to the institutes who are thriving on the subsistence level, or they are not able to, you know, able to even come to the costs. We're talking of the institutes which are doing well, but there are certain colleges and certain institutes who are able to actually meet their basic costs. They're not even earning profits there. So if such exit policy, you know, hypothetically, we were already there. If we talk about certain courses which were vocational courses, there is an exit policy after 2 years. If you're in a vocational BVOC program, you have an exit policy after 1 year, and then 2 year, and then degree. So what used to happen is that by the end of the 3 years term, there used to be very less students, and how much, you know, fees will be attained by the colleges, and how to because they have kept a teacher for a particular course. So even if there are 3 students left in the 3rd year, you have to keep the teacher, but how to meet to the cost? So we have to look into these grassroots realities also when we talk about all these changes. But having said that, I would always feel whenever any policy decisions take place, whenever any change take place, there is going to be discussion points. Yes, that is very important. And but of course we should not fear change, because that is not a solution. We should look towards the intrinsic changes, grassroots realities, and we cannot have a same absolute platform for all. We need to be relative in making the changes, so that each institute's their autonomy, they can work according to and adapt according to the change. And most important thing, when I say that rules should not be followed in the letter but in the spirit, that is going to be very, very important. That we used to talk from school time in all through stories, but till today, whenever we talk about education system, we follow rules in the letter but not in the spirit. But that does not mean we undermine the regulatory part, we undermine the governance part, we undermine the autonomy part. But yes, the Atmanirbharta means we need to be accountable also to whatever we are doing. So that level of trust as teachers is very important for us in the education system, as educational institutions, as administrators, and then ultimately we can inculcate that kind of mental development and mental orientation with our students. So I thank all the dignitaries here for having a healthy discussion here, and we could share these thoughts. And I appreciate the efforts of Dr. Ajay and Dr. Rashmi for giving us this platform. And I hope this discussion brings another zone of discussions in the later future discussions. Thank you very much.
Rashmi madam, some faculty member would like to ask some queries from the expert on certain clarification on certain issues, because they have raised, Jasween Kaur has raised very valid point. Dr. Durgesh Tripathi has also raised some valid point. In the morning itself, Dr. Karamjit has also raised some valid, very collaborative and valid points. All some faculty member has asked me that can we be able to
yes, I think we can go ahead. I think, but I don't know about, we can ask all the experts. I think.
Yeah, madam, please, you can put up the open session for that part.
Myself, Professor Dr. Emin Shah. My question is open. I would like to expect some interaction with this star-studded panel. When we talk about the multidisciplinary dimension and setting target of the 50% GER up to in the next 15 years, it becomes essential to have many more higher education institutions, right? And quality delivery of teaching, especially with the quality faculty members. Can it be achieved, especially the quality learning without 1:10 or hardly 1:15 PTR, but it is 29 around at present. Moreover, around 32,000 plus faculty posts are vacant in the university and college, perhaps more than that. So is it possible to achieve the GER in next 15 years? And even if we achieve, can be in position to deliver the quality learning, as rightly Dr. Jasmine Man talking about. But learning important. Moreover, when we talk about the necessary education policy, one of the aim and objective of the necessary education policy to influx more and more entrepreneurs in the society so that there could be less burden on the government to provide the government job. And this has been observed that all those developed countries are having a lot many entrepreneurs in their society and they are developing. I think one of the most important, the hidden objective behind this NEP is that. So my one question is that is it possible, because there, I think there might be the lapses in the institution, as Shrotia sir rightly told about the 80% the policy fails because of the poor implementation. So this is the one question. What may I have this some guidance on this? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your observation and pointing out that particular observation. As all the experts, they have given their viewpoint in the discussion as well. It is, I personally feel quality is a relative term. Quality cannot be an absolute term. Because see, for delivering quality, you need to have infrastructure. So sitting in Delhi or in Mumbai cannot compare with a tier 2 city, and tier 2 city cannot be compared with tier 3 city, and similarly tier 3 city cannot be compared with a Meri Bori school. You know, you must have a Meri Bori school कि अपनी बोरी लेके बैठो पेड़ के नीचे और पढ़ाई करो. So you cannot do that, and we need to understand. See, it is important. It is very important to understand the intricate realities. See, and I would like to, of course, I'm not digressing from that thing, but I would like to bring out the empathic point here. When you talk about this COVID time, we all teachers, especially in the institutes we were in the permanent jobs and we were getting regular salary. Think of the people who had nothing to eat. I'm not talking of migrant labor. I'm taking of even of the people who were in contractual jobs, people who were in the salary job. And I have seen examples here, even in Delhi NCR, big multinational companies, they had to retrench their staff, even permanent staff, even with 15 and 20 years of experience. And that has happened with my family also. My parents are in Delhi, Noida, and I've seen the examples there. So having said that, you know, the infrastructure, the availability of money is very important, but that cannot undermine the intention of quality. I always feel as teachers, as academicians, as institutions, or as nation builders, it is very, very important for us to give our best. You know that you have given your best to your capability. अगर मैंने अपनी क्षमता से पूरा अपना योगदान दे दिया है, I know in my heart I've given my best, and then everybody will know, even the students, even the people around, they know that yes, you have given the best. But we know the examples are there in our education system where many a times the teachers, especially in the government schools, in the rural belts, they go and they're not contributing good enough. But that does not mean this pertains to all. This does not pertain to all. There's no uniform statement. It is that, and even in our urban areas also, many a times you feel that, you know, some teachers slog more in research and teaching and academic than that. So my point here is, when we talk about quality, one, it is your intention to contribute should be there as a teacher. Second, the institutional support should be there. And then of course the governance support there. Like we talk about, you know, that India has to become a defense power nation, and we have to keep our boundaries sealed. We have to keep our enemies at bay. Similarly, and we're spending huge amount of money for that. Similarly, when we have to talk about reforming our education system, we have to contribute money for its development. Like we are talking of health and sanitation in the past few months. With the health and sanitation used to be important earlier also, but it has become all the more important in the past few months because of COVID. And we have seen examples of countries like New Zealand and where the system was very effective. There the effect was very, very less of the COVID-19. So when we talk about quality should be, as I will always say, then when we talk about implementation of any policy, involvement of all the stakeholders is also important. And when I talk about quality, I will not undermine the involvement of students. Their intention to involve, we cannot force people to do that. We cannot force students to do that. Even the child who is going into who's a 3-year-old child, we are staying in a awakened era now, and even a 3-year-old child who is a millennium child or a generation Z child, he knows what he wants. Of course, he knows what he wants, but does not mean he knows it all, but he knows. So his interest cannot be forced upon. His interest has to be inculcated, and that has to be told to him or inculcated with him within the over a period of time. And we have to make the students realize that theory without practice is meaningless, but the practice without theory is also irrelevant. That does not mean all practice, so theory without practice is meaningless, but theory without practice is I know it is very important, and we do a lot of things for delivering quality. We use a lot of modes to doing well, but talking only of practice without theory is nil. So fundamental knowledge, fundamental foundations of knowledge is very important. So for making quality, we need to have infrastructure support. We need to have support of the of upper education level, administration levels, and of course their own attitudes and involvement has to be high. For that, I think I would say the flexi teaching curriculum should also be there, because what is happening is there's too much load on the teachers that you're teaching 4 credits in a week, and you're taking 4-5 classes every day. So what is happening is maybe that kind of quality. So if you lot of institutes which are there, which are following the pattern of Western countries, they're taking rather than taking a class of 50 minutes or 1 hour in a day, they take about 2 hours class in or 3 hours class in 2 days a week, and they contribute more, because other time they can do for preparations and other research works and other academic and personal work. So that is how the flexi teaching schedule should also be there for bringing quality. And I give the platform to other experts for their inputs.
My next question is, sir, including you, my question is, because what I feel the aim and objective of this, I already told about this higher education policy is to have more and more expert, skill-oriented, skill-setting, the expert in the market, the entrepreneurs in the market, so that we could become really Atmanirbhar. And so what I feel about that we must use and utilize the practitioner, the industry expert, the corporate expert in the role of the teachers, part-time or full-time. They must be given, institution must be allowed to make them a part of the cadre ratio. We are running college, we have pressure of the cadre ratio also. If you could link the living, this legend or the practitioner from the corporate, the online courses also, in physical mode also, so there might be some lessen the burden of the cadre ratio, and our students could be given more and more and great input in the class. And it will again supplement this idea too. One of the things given by Jasmine ma'am, the acceptance of the students. I think this is quality teaching. The students are also very smart. They know that which class we are getting what. If they don't get anything, they won't accept teacher, and they are not. So this is my question. Can we not, our government should not think about to link more and more these managers or the experts or the Bollywood or any other, because in mass communication expert, the reporters, journalists, to lessen the burden of the cadre ratio and give a chance to teach our students directly. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Professor Jha, sir, we do agree with you related with your understanding to accommodate and to engage the practitioner as well as the teachers.
Exactly.
Because in the mass communication and media field, and especially in the management also, there are so many things related with the debatable issues related with the academicians and the professionals. And we know very well about that. The media and management streams are more or less practical oriented and the theory oriented. If we will mix up rich mix with professional and the traditional one, I think it will be better to co-opt and accommodate the best practices for the future engagement and future understanding and future development of this stream, we can see. And I would like to express my personal understanding and observation related with your topic, related with your understanding, related with your question, that there are so many international recognized institution of eminence has already been adopted and started the course on various streams, themes, and topics related with the professional, related with the theory streams, theory topics. If we talk about already the United Nations Development Center, UNDC, has already been started. There are so many courses related with the international diplomacy, and anyone can join. There is no restrictions of age bar, education bar, or a region bar. And I do congratulate and I do accommodate. I would like to thanks to the professors and policy makers that they have already started their basic understanding towards your topic, towards your question. That if a people, if a scholar, if a learner want to join a course on a professional or as well as from the theory topics, they can join on the open platform. There are so many universities like MIT, Harvard, Harvard X, MIT institutions. There are so many academic institutions. There are so many universities has already been started their courses on the open platform, or we can say it's open courseware that they have joined by the so many professionals. There are so many academicians as well. And I do believe that it's a digital platform or an online platform can accommodate anyone for their any topic, for their any understanding. And after completion of the course, they may have, intelligently they have to choose the course, the practical one or a theory one. But nowadays, or I do believe that I'm very much fortunate in a coming days, in upcoming years, the institution will start a course, online course, like MOOC course or a module of theory paper, theory topics, as well as the professional topics, professional matters related with the module. And professional modules, professional topics can be launched by the professionals, senior professionals of the stream. So I must congratulate, we must congratulate to new education policy and policy makers that they have started your understanding in a conceptual way as a national education policy. And in the upcoming years, we may see the changes in the open platform.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Dr. Rashmi, can I add to it a little?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. I really appreciate the efforts of and the inputs of Dr. Tripathi. And yes, we do. And Dr. Jha, you've really pointed out the problem that we normally face in our institutes is that, when we talk about practice, but involvement of people from the practical field, there is not much of involvement is, especially in the government setups. In private institutes, we have a lot of visiting faculty from the people from the practice and people from the corporate sector. But in the public sector, this involvement is not to greater extent. Yes, there is there. When we talk about in curricular development, it is there. But as far as involvement into regular teaching, it is not there. We call people for expert lectures, but then it is not there. Having said that, this can be done. This can be improvised. But having said that, we need to one more important aspect into this is where the grassroots reality. I will again point out here, Dr. Jha. We all know that when we talk about involvement of people of practice, we need to understand, that the involvement should bring out effective results. I've seen examples that people from practice, they come and they talk things which are generic, which are important. But, when we talk about talking of professional inputs and professional courses, and professional involvement and talking professional topics, then they have to rigorize their lecture base into bringing theory into practice and practice building with theory. Because as I said, we need practice with theory, but we just talk about, only general talk, and we do not authenticate with the theory, with the concepts, with the background of theory, that becomes nil. So the involvement of practical people from the corporate is really important, but that has to be done at under rigorous level, and in of course for quality level. Another important aspect is we can read all the other courses are there where we design the courses and people go for training programs, or or the last semester is for the practical corporate exposures and training programs. But we design the courses, we make them practical orientations. That was already there, and it's going to be all the more happening in the new education policies. But when we do that, the amount of time, of course we understand the problems and intricacies of the corporate working, but the amount of time given by people of practice to the students is not that much high, because whenever the students come back to us, they said, they gave us a topic, we prepared a report and we are presenting it, but that learning input is not very high. Some of the students that do well, they get the jobs also, they get placed also. So it does not mean that it is all not happening effectively. It is happening, but to make it more effective, the involvement of people from the corporate, maybe the institutional industry interfaces, making academia industry interface more effective. The involvement of people from the corporate level should be at high end with more high commitment and involvement. Similarly, the people from academia should also be given chance to go to the industry for certain exposure and understandings. We just teach in a four walls, or we do our understandings by dint of our own research. Of course, NAC ratings are there, NRF ratings are there, and for NRF and NAC, the institutes are focusing on research. But getting into, and many a times you hear corporate people saying, okay, what in reality is not, you're not teaching. I don't totally agree with this, but I cannot disagree also. But I don't totally not agree also, because see, what we are talking, what we take our case studies, what we take examples from what is happening around us is important. But having small stints of teachers going also for short period of time for certain courses will give them more exposure. So I think flexibility in the system is very important, and bringing corporate into the system has to be done more rigorously rather than just bringing quality in the education.
Inculcating the entire setup of the cadet issue. The partially what I'm talking about, once we decide, we need to realign our courses also, that what courses we need to assign to such people and what courses should not. It's a great. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
It is very categorically pointed out that the teaching and research are the two sides of the same coin. So teaching without research and research without teaching has got no existence. So Madam has very well pointed out that the theory part is very important, on which the base of practical will be there, and without practical, theory will cannot be substantiated. So if we are talking of people coming from the professional world and they're grooming up, but they don't know about the other part of the story, that is the theory part, and the learner has to clear both part, theory part as well as practical part, to make the mosaic very clear, so that he can be able to understand the full picture of the whole scenario, what is exactly is all about, and then he can be worked upon on those areas. So my summation is that the students, the learners will be interacting. This new economic policy is going to open up a new gamut of operations for us to see the things transform the things in time to come. And this, we feel that we are going to make a country better tomorrow, for our students and our children in time to come, and we can be able to make them a good citizen for a country who will be contributing in a positive way for the nation's GDP. Our ultimate is that every person who is having existence on this earth is a creation of God, and he has to be meaningfully employed for the time to come and for the nation's GDP, and contribute for the nation's GDP in a positive manner. And if he is not desired, then God is going to open that part. But if he is there on earth, that means we have to take care of that each and every citizen of the country, each and every person of the country, and he should be trained enough to give good part to the whole GDP and whole next generation. And in this way, we can be able to make our learning system more, you can say, empathetic towards their requirement of the what is this basic essence of this policy, new education policy is all about, to make it towards sensible towards fellow citizens, to be able to understand the pain of other fellow citizens, and to work on with new dimensions in time to come, and to make our country great again. Just like Trump has been saying, make America great again, we have to look to make India great again. सोने की चिड़िया जो पहले था, दोबारा बनाने के लिए ये बहुत ही जरूरी है कि हम इस न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी की nitty-gritty जो salient features हैं उसको imbibe करें और सिस्टम में उतारें.
One thing more to say you that Dr. Jasveer has said very well, that today in our education system, teachers have a lot of load, and they are focusing on the 4 lecture and then other administrative works, and for that we are not focusing on the quality education. And really it is a very important to give a quality education. As when Dr. Jasween was explaining this, I remember my one foreigner friend. He is in the university and he is taking only two-day class. One day he is taking 4 lecture or 5 lecture, and another day he is taking only 3 lecture, and rest days he is free to do a research work, and they have a lot of time to focus on the research work and to prepare their study. And I think when I talk with him and he say that I am free now, I have only 2 days lecture and rest I am doing my preparation of the studies, that time I think that yes, from where the quality will become, because always we are focusing that there should be a quality, and from where the quality will become. So the teacher need to do the preparation for the study. So if our government is focusing on this type of new education policies and they are bringing this new education policy, then it will be much better. Another thing that Dr. Jasveer ma'am has said, that the teacher, yes, I also agree with ma'am that we teacher are the creator of the nation. If we are giving a good education to our student, we should ask ourselves if we are satisfied whatever we are giving to our students. So that is very important to us, that we should become a teacher by a passion. I have seen a lot of time the teachers are not giving time to do their study. So that is also very important for the faculty members and teachers to focus on that. Jasveer madam, you have focused, Dr. Durgeshwar has focused a lot of things, and it is very important if we are going to implement on that, if the government is focusing on that, and these things are going, and the new education policy is coming, maybe it will be very helpful for our students and our young generation who are going to become our future and going to handle our nation.
Can I ask one question if time permits you?
Yes, madam, why not?
I am Dr. Vandana Raghav, and as a student of economics, there is one question in my mind related to the new economic policy. I have read one article in the Hindi newspaper. पूरे देश के सरकारी स्कूलों का निजीकरण होगा, and the data which they had supported in this is कि वर्ष 2010-2014 के दौरान सरकारी स्कूलों की संख्या में 13,500 की वृद्धि हुई, लेकिन इसमें दाखिला लेने वाले बच्चों की जो संख्या है, सरकारी स्कूल में जो दाखिला लेने वाले बच्चों की संख्या है, वो डिक्रीज हुई है बाय द नंबर ऑफ 13,500. एंड ऑन द अदर हैंड जो निजी स्कूलों में दाखिला लेने वाले बच्चों की संख्या इंक्रीज हुई है 1,13,00,000, और जो प्राइवेट स्कूल में बच्चों की जो इंक्रीज हुआ है इन द एडमिशंस, इट इज 1,85,00,000. तो जिससे कि सरकारी स्कूलों के ऊपर जो एक्सपेंडिचर गवर्नमेंट का हो रहा है, इट इज इंक्रीजिंग बिकॉज द गवर्नमेंट इज ट्राइंग टू गिव एजुकेशन टू द मासेस, स्पेशली दे आर फोकसिंग ऑन द वीकर इकोनॉमिक वीकर सेक्शन ऑफ द सोसाइटी. तो इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट दे आर टेकिंग 2 things टुगेदर. वन, दे आर गिविंग मोर एम्फेसिस ऑन द गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स, एंड ऑन द अदर हैंड in all the private schools, it is mandatory to take 25% of the economic weaker section of the society. If suppose the government decides to privatize all the education, especially to the, we can say, the government schools. So is there any policy in the new education policy to give support to this weaker section of the society?
Yes, I can. Madam Vandana's question is about the future of the government schools. And I think she's saying that government is spending a lot of money. This is what you're trying to ask?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On the one hand, government is spending a large amount of money on the education of the weaker section in the form of the government school.
So, so far as the provisions of
apart from
policy.
this thing, apart from this article, I also came to know from some another articles also that now government is trying to reduce the expenditure on education in the school education as well as on the higher education also. So I just wanted to know, is there any provision in the new education policy to give support to this weaker section? What are the policies so that they can give the support?
Yes, Dr. Vandana. So far as the provisions of this new education, national education policy rather is concerned, it is, rather enhancing the budget for the education sector. Right now, we are spending somewhere around 4% of the GDP on the education sector. And as stated in the policy, government will be increasing the money, from 4% of the GDP to 6% of GDP. Okay, so that much money government has, planned to spend on the education sector. And this is what we, people were asking for since quite a long time, because in case we look into the data at the international level, most of the developed countries of the world, they are in, almost 6% of the GDP, they are also spending on the education sector. But then, the news which you are quoting, is it pertaining to the central government planning, or is it pertaining to the state government planning? Because state government, this education is falling in the concurrent list. State governments, they are also spending money on the school education. So in case this news is talking about, this education policy, so there's nothing in the education policy which is actually reducing the expenditure on the school education.
Can I add, Dr. Ravi, here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. See, what was the challenge of the previous education policy was reaching to the socio-economic classes, although the government schools were there. But if you see the example here, if you take the example of the labor class around here, I happened to talk to my domestic helper once, and I asked, "Ki aapka bacha kaun se school mein jata?" She said, "It's going to a private so and so school." I said, "You have a government school in your village. Why are you sending?" So one reason was the accountability of quality of teaching, So that was one challenge. And secondly, also reaching to the nook and corner to the socioeconomically backward classes was another challenge, which the new national education policy, which is there, NEP is trying to overcome, because it is going to give as I talked about, giving access and equity and inclusion of a lot of scholarships are there. And even the private, we used to talk only of government institutes or government schools, but the new education policy says, or the national education policy says, that, the private and the philanthropic universities, which can, there are a lot of private universities which are going for CSR, which are backed up by corporates, and there are a lot of philanthropic universities. They can offer scholarship to the underprivileged classes. So, see, it is not that reducing the funds, there is going to be multiple channels of giving the funds, because see, what was happening is when we go into particular phase, they're likely to be pilferages and loopholes in that particular system. So as to plug that system, the national education policy is trying to multifaceted the system so that it can reach better to the socioeconomic and unprivileged classes. So this was the reason behind it, and for the changes implementation. So what we are talking today is all the policy changes, because it is just about 3 months back that this policy has come to existence. Although we're talking of research universities, we are talking of open universities, we are talking of skill universities, but things are happening, things are in the pipeline. But yes, ultimately, how much it reaches will have to be into the flexibility of the system. We need to make the system flexible. We need to make the system more rigorous, more adaptable to the changes in the society, because as I gave you the example, even the labor class does not want to send the children to the government schools where the education is free, or even if they go, they stop after 5th or 8th class. So checking this grassroots reality is very important for implementation of or to achieve the ultimate or to reap the ultimate benefits of the education system in long run.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Thank you
I
so
would like
much.
to say one thing into this, because the second part of your query was, government schools, they are dying actually, because the number of admission going into those schools is actually reducing.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is happening in the government schools? The government is not trying to, close down these schools. Government is rather is increasing the spending in these schools. Government is, introducing these schemes like midday meal scheme. Government is providing dresses to the students. Government is providing, food and books also. All these things government is doing. But what is happening, particularly in the government schools, the quality of education is not improving. Why so? Because it is not because the teachers they are not good, they are not teaching to the students, but I feel the teachers, I am talking particularly about the state of Punjab, they are overburdened with other activities. Like in case elections are coming, they'll be put on duty. In case it is about cooking of midday meals, they will be cooking. So all these things, teachers, they say that we are busy there, but what and when to provide education to the students. So that is what is happening.
Thank you so much, everyone. Now I would like to invite Dr. Rashmi Gujarati, Dean Management TIES, to deliver a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Kinika. At last, I would like to give a big thanks to Dr. Karamjit sir, Dr. H.K. Singh sir, Dr. Ravinder Singh, Dr. Vijay Shrotia, Dr. Jasveer Kaur, and Dr. Durgesh Tripathi. You all has given us your very important time in your busy schedule, and all have enlightened a lot of points related with the National Education Policy 2020, which is going to be implemented in up forthcoming. We can see here that there is a lot of challenges and opportunities in this new education policy. Lot of the points, biggest points, my speakers has highlighted about that what new education policies are going to become as like a single regulatory for the higher education institution, second multiple entry and exit options in the degree courses. There is a 4-year courses, low stake board exam, and common entrance test for the exam of the university. Another also there is a points which is going to be highlighted like this, that academic bank of the credit, multiple entry, exit, and foreign universities are also open to come in India and do the collaboration with our education, and they can be highlight and they will be get collaboration, as well as students and faculty mobility. We can exchange student program and faculty program from with the top world ranked universities. Education technologies are also be going to be formed, and as Dr. Jasveer ma'am has said that an autonomous body, the National Educational Technology Firm, will be created to provide a big platform for the free exchange of idea and use of technology to enhance the learning of assessment, planning, and administration. As Dr. Jasveer said that really only the theoretical is not important. Practical work should be also there, and that will be enhance the quality of the education. In the new education policy, a lot of things has been discussed by the ministry, which has been education ministry. They have highlighted higher education must be enabled to develop of the enlightened, social conscious, knowledgeable, and skilled nation that can be found and implemented on the robust solution on its own problem. The purpose of the quality higher education is more than to creation of a great opportunity for the individual employment. It presents the key to more vibrant social engagement, cooperative communities, and happier, comprehensive culture, productive, innovative, progressive, like this, to be make a good nation. There is a lot of problems which we are going to be faced through these new policies. There were several fragment higher education ecosystem, less emphasis on the development of the cognitive skills and learning outcome, separation of the disciplines with earlier specialization and streaming of students into a narrow area of study, and limited access, particularly in social economical disadvantaged areas with the few higher education institutions that teach in the local languages. And I think that if local languages can be implemented in higher education also, that will be also very benefit for us. Because I have seen that when we go out of the country, we can see that if in our India, our language, Hindi language is not given the preferred to the students, and we are focusing on the English language. But when we go in the out of the country, I have seen that the country are using their own language, and due to their own language, their students are able to explain everything very well. I have seen in my MBA students also a lot of time that they have an answer to give when the placement companies come. But what happened? Due to lack of the communication, or due to they are not able to explain their views in English, and they don't explain properly in front of the company. So if they should allow to give the answers in their mother tongue, I think that that time we can bring a good quality in the market and in the society. Because lot of time then where the lot of discussions are going on, that time if we see that our students can communicate and exchange lot of views with us in our class also when we are teaching, and sometime when we come in our mother tongue language, that time we can see that our student have a good quality. But only the reason is that they have a hesitation to come in another language. As we know that due to British rule, English is very compulsory in our India, and everybody is focusing on English, that this language should be good to know everybody. This is very important, and due to that we have a skilled students. Our generation have a lot of skills, but maybe some of the problems are there, for that they are not coming up. At last, my big thanks to my Technia Group of Institution, Director Sir, Chairman Sir, and my staff, those who have supported me to organize this webinar. And my big thanks to my all speakers, all have given me your very important time from your busy schedule. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, sir.